Hi, it's Steph, and we're at Lowe's, and they have a bunch of new inventory. Lots of shrubs, flowering trees, as well as perennials. I even found some hellebore. So let's go ahead and take a look at the April inventory at Lowe's. Check out this beautiful vibrant pink shrub. This is heather, and it is a great shrub for early color in the season. So this will start blooming late winter, early spring. The variety is called Kramer's Red Heather, and you can see here bloom season spring and winter. This is almost a 2-gallon at 1.71 for $24.98. They like full sun, and they get to be 15 inches in height by 24 inches in width and hardy down to a zone 6. So if you want some really early season color, starting as early as late winter into early spring, this might be a great option for some bright pink in the landscape. And then right beside it, I noticed some Nandina. Now, Nandina is a shrub that is pretty great because it is deer resistant and it can handle some tough situations like dry shade. I'm actually considering picking one up this season for under some trees that I have planted. And I think this would make a great shrub. It's in a woodland area where I do get a lot of deer. So let's check out this variety here. What drew me to it was this really pretty orange coloring. Look at that. I've seen Nandinas in shades of red, but never this gorgeous orange. So this one is called Cool Glow Peach Nandina. It is hardy in USDA growing zone 6 through 9, has low to medium water needs, and it likes full sun to part shade. And it gets to be 3 feet tall by 4 feet wide. It says it is drought tolerant and deer resistant. And this is by First Editions. Now these are 1 gallons for $19.98. That is really pretty. They have a white heather also, and this one is called White Perfection Heather. $24.98, also blooms in late winter or spring. Almost looks like baby's breath. The boxwoods are in, so if you're looking to do some kind of hedge or topiary project, this would be a great option. Now, boxwood can take full sun and part sun. This one here is saying part sun, 3 to 6 hours of morning sun is where they would perform best. If they don't get quite enough sun, they will start to get a little bit sparse. So if you do want to shape them into, say, a ball or sphere shape, you want them to be nice and full, which means that you should get them a little bit more sun. Now, these are deer resistant, which is excellent, and they make really nice hedges, and they also look really pretty if you trim them into different shapes. They are very similar in appearance to holly in terms of their leaf structure. Now these here get to be 4 to 5 feet in height, 2 to 3 feet in width, but of course if you prune them and shape them, you can keep the size more compact. They are hardy down to a zone 5 or -10 to -20 degrees Fahrenheit. And these are a larger container. They're 2.33 gallon at $29.98. Green Mountain Boxwood. And they do have this bulk pricing here at Lowe's that you would save 10% when you purchase 16 or more. So instead of $29.98, it would be $26.98. Check out this beautiful euonymus. This is a variety called Euonymus Palamo Blanco, and all of the new tips is a light color, like a creamy color. They're really pretty. So here they are. You can see in the photo there. And it's pretty compact. So it says compact shrub, good in containers, colorful new growth. And it likes full sun to partial shade. Gets to be about 2 feet in height and 2 feet in width, and hardy in zones 6 through 9. And these containers here look to be about a gallon for $16.98. But they also have some larger ones right on the side here. Look how pretty that new growth is. It's coming up a little bit more yellow on camera, but it looks like it's going to fade to a bit of a creamy color. And these here are, let's see, 1.71 gallon for $24.98. Some lilacs that are about to burst into bloom. They're all budded up. Look at that. Lilacs smell amazing. Such a wonderful spring blooming shrub. This variety here is Lilac Flower Festa Purple. And let's see how big this one gets. Oh, it's a reblooming lilac. I actually have one in my garden that's reblooming, the Bloomerang by Proven Winners. It says dwarf shrub, highly fragrant, reblooming. It likes full sun to partial shade, and it gets to be 4 feet in height by 4 feet in width. Hardy in zones 3 through 7. And this here is, let's see, almost 2 gallons for $27.98. Here is a great shrub. This is the Fire Chief Arborvitae, and I have a couple of these in my garden. They keep a nice rounded shape. They get to be about 3 to 4 feet in diameter, and the deer do not touch them. And this is coming off of its winter color right now. They actually get really bronzy like this for the winter, which makes them really interesting. And then during the growing season, once it starts to warm up in spring and in summer, they have a very vibrant chartreuse color, similar to what you see here. Arborvitae Fire Chief, and it has bright gold spring foliage, deep red fall color. It's slow growing. It likes full sun, and it gets to be 4x4, hardy in zones 5 through 8. Look at that coloring. Stunning. So these are 2.33 gallons for $29.98. So here is another variety of boxwood. We just took a look at the Green Mountain, and they also have the Winter Gem. And the Winter Gem can also be shaped into a hedge or any shape you prefer. A sphere shape, a topiary, part sun, just like the others, 2 full sun, deer resistant. These are $29.98 as well. And this variety gets to be 3 to 4 feet in height and 3 to 4 feet in width. And they're hardy down to -10 degrees Fahrenheit or a zone 5. Now, right on the side of them, they also have another variety of boxwood, and this is the Green Velvet. Now here you can see the coloring on this one, you can see what is called winter burn. Now some varieties of boxwood will get this bronzing over the winter. So with the cool temperatures, it will take on a bit of this coloring that you see here. Some varieties are more resistant to that. So if you do not like this bronze coloring with the cool winter temperatures, you'd want to go for a different variety and go for something like the Winter Gem or the Green Mountain. Now they will lose this bronze color as it starts to warm up. They will get much greener. And some Hinoki cypress. I actually love Hinoki cypress. I might have 6 or 7 in my garden at this point, all different types of Hinoki. They are just such a beautiful, graceful looking evergreen. Now these here, they will get a lot bigger, even though they look really cute and small right now. You have to give them room for growth. I have one in my main walkway border that is so large, but so stunning, and I just adore it. So this one here, it says that it's a dwarf gracilis Hinoki cypress. But dwarf just means that it has a slower growth rate. It will still get a pretty decent size over time. It does like full sun. It is a feature or a specimen type evergreen. And this one here is $29.98. It's a 1.5 gallon. And it says that it will get 6 feet in height and 4 feet in width. And they're hardy down to a zone 4, so pretty hardy, down to -20 degrees Fahrenheit. This is a great price for this because they will look really beautiful in a few years. They're already cute right here. Look at that. Stunning. Here's another evergreen with some winter bronze coloring. This is a compact Andorra juniper. And you can see here it's very low growing. Now, it looks really pretty in that application, actually, with a retaining wall behind it. And these like full sun, and they're $10.98. They will start to green up once the temperatures warm up, but this is their cool temperature coloring. Now these get to be about 2 feet in height and 4 feet in width, and they're hardy down to -20 degrees Fahrenheit or a zone 4. If you're looking to add some rhododendron, they have plenty to choose from at the moment. Now, rhododendrons are a wonderful evergreen. They like part shade, so they're a great understory plant, which means that you can plant them under the canopy of some deciduous trees. This variety here is the Anna Kruschk rhododendron. It wants 3 to 6 hours of morning sun. So if you are going to give them sun, you want to give them part sun, and they will perform a lot better than if they're getting too much sun. I actually had to move one because it was getting too much sun and it just wasn't happy. But now it's doing much better under the canopy of a tree. So this variety here gets to be 5 feet in height, 4 feet in width, and it is hardy down to a zone 5 or -10 degrees Fahrenheit. $26.98. And this looks like a 2 gallon or so. And right on the side of it, there are some of the PGM variety rhododendrons. They're the ones with the smaller leaves, and the leaves are also a bit darker. This one here is the Monrovia Landmark rhododendron. It likes part sun, blooms in spring, and it's great for a woodland garden, and it is $46.98. It looks like a 2 gallon as well. It gets to be 4x4. Hardy in zones 5 through 8 or down to -20 degrees Fahrenheit. All budded up. This one looks like it's going to be a really pretty, dainty looking white one. And this is the Milky Way rhododendron by Monrovia. Spring blooms, great for a woodland garden, also $46.98. Even the buds are really pretty. Look at that. They almost have like a bit of a peachy appearance to them. And some forsythia, a quintessential spring blooming shrub. Now here in my zone 6, they haven't started to burst into bloom yet, but any day now. Of course, these are a little bit ahead because they came from a greenhouse somewhere, but really pretty yellow blooms. You can see here the variety is Show Off by Proven Winners. And let's see how big it gets. So this variety is hardy in USDA growing zones 5 through 8 or down to negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and it gets to be 5 to 6 feet tall and wide. Really pretty. These are even a great option for some living fences or hedging. Of course, they will go bare in the winter months, but from spring through fall, once they're done blooming, they will leaf out and you will have a nice wall of green. And these are a 3-gallon container for $36.98. Some proven winners, Rose of Sharon. Now, Rose of Sharon are a beautiful later season bloomer. They will start blooming at some point mid to late summer, and they have a really pretty tropical looking bloom. You just want to be careful with the older varieties because some of them are not sterile. And so the older varieties will drop seeds and you'll end up with a bunch of Rose of Sharon babies everywhere. But a lot of the newer varieties are sterile and you don't have to worry about that as much. So here is a proven winners variety called Purple Pillar. It says it is a space saver, which means it's probably going to be smaller. It likes full sun, hardy in zones 5 through 9, and it gets to be 10 to 16 feet tall, but only 2 to 3 feet wide. So it'd be great to tuck in a spot somewhere. So it'll get really tall, but not very wide, which is great. And it blooms in summer. These are pretty good sized containers. Let's see, they're probably like a 5-gallon for $44.98. And they have the purple pillar and they also have the white pillar right back here. So similar specs, I'm guessing. Let's just make sure. Yep, 10 to 16 feet in height, 2 to 3 feet in width. Very narrow, heat tolerant, durable blooms. And it likes sun. And if you're looking for an evergreen that keeps a naturally rounded habit, this might be a good option for you. This is the Little Giant Arborvitae. And this variety, I have a friend who has some in her garden, and she says that they are deer resistant for her, which would make sense if the Little Giant is related to the Green Giant, because the Green Giant is an arborvitae that is deer resistant. These like full sun, and they get to be 4 feet in height and 4 feet in width, and they're hardy down to a zone 3 or down to negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, these are some pretty large containers. Let's see how much they are. Okay, they look to be a 3-gallon container for $44.98. Some really cool osmanthus or false holly. This one is called Party Lights, and it looks like it has pink new growth, which is awesome. I have an osmanthus called Goshiki, and it is really pretty. It's a variegated golden and green type holly, and it is not a berry-bearing holly, but it is very pretty, and I find it deer resistant in my garden. They like part sun, so I do have mine planted in a woodland area, and it says that its interest is in fall, so perhaps in the fall is where it gets these tips of pink. And let's see how large this one gets. It needs 4 to 5 foot in height and 3 feet in width. So give it 3 foot spacing. And it is hardy to a zone 6. $22.98. And right beside it is the variety that I have in my garden. So this one here looks like it's going to have interest with the tips, perhaps in the fall, according to the tag. And the one that I have in my garden looks like this all year round. It is stunning. I fell in love with it because of this yellow and green variegation. So let's find the information on this one. So there it is, Holly Osmanthus Goshiki, or Ilex is another name for holly. $19.98 for this almost 2-gallon size. Now, I don't see a spec card on these, but from what I recall off memory, they get to be about 4 by 4 in size. And it is hardy also to a zone 6. They have some smaller Little Giant Arborvitae, so if you don't want the large 3-gallon size that I believe was around $40 some dollars there, you can get a small one like this for $13.98, which is a wonderful price point, and also the root ball is a lot smaller, making it easier to plant. And look at this sea of golden evergreens here. Isn't that stunning? Now, this is one of my favorite yellow evergreens that are really easily found at any garden center or nursery, and it contrasts so beautifully with green evergreens. So when you're planting out your garden, it's awesome to have winter interest so that even when your perennials are dormant over winter, you still have something beautiful to look at in your garden. So if you plant golden evergreens, green evergreens, as well as blue, what a beautiful contrast and color palette you'll have over winter or year round, really. So let's take a look at this one here. This is the lemon thread false cypress. It grows in a really beautiful arching habit. It has this really airy foliage. Now, this does need full sun in order to keep this really beautiful golden color. And that is the case for any type of evergreen that is either gold or blue. It needs sun to have the best coloring. If you have this in more shade, you will get more green. See what you see here on the bottom of the foliage that isn't getting any sun because it's hidden, right? So that is the color you'll get if you put this in too much shade. So full sun for the best color. These are 1 gallon containers for $13.98, and they get to be 3 to 5 feet in height and 2 to 4 feet in width. They are hardy down to -20 degrees Fahrenheit or a zone 4. And here's exactly what I was saying with the green evergreen, the golden evergreen, and the blue evergreen. This here is one of my favorites as well. It is a really slow growing blue star juniper. I have about 4 of these in my landscape, and they're great for the front of a border because they don't get very tall, anywhere from 12 to 18 inches in height. And mine is 10 years old, and they're all about 3 to 4 feet in width or in diameter. So it says here that they get 2 to 3 feet in height, which mine definitely do not. I want to say they probably will max out at about 20 inches, and they get 3 to 4 feet in width, which is correct. And they're hardy down to -20 degrees Fahrenheit and down to a zone 4. $21.98. And this looks to be about almost a 2 gallon, 1.71. Really pretty contrast with the 3 of those colors together. Lots of trees in stock, flowering trees, shade trees, and fruit trees. But I am loving this Bracken's Brown Beauty Magnolia. This is a southern magnolia, and I want one of these in my garden so I can cut on it in the winter for winter arrangements. These make beautiful wreaths and swags. Stunning. And not to mention, they get these really large, fragrant white flowers. So here they are. This is the Bracken's Brown Beauty Magnolia. They like full sun. They get that really pretty brown, leathery look on the back of the foliage. They're evergreen here in my zone, so they maintain these leaves most of the year. And let's see, hardy to a zone 6. They need 15 to 20 foot spacing because they get to be 20 to 30 feet in height and 15 to 20 feet in width. They have 2 sizes here at my store, and I've been trying to convince my husband that we need one. But we can't decide on a spot for it, and we've learned our lesson not to bring anything home that we don't have a spot picked out to plant it. But boy, do I want one. And they have some patio peaches. This one here is the Bonfire Patio Peach. Now, from what I understand, these are just ornamental. They do not bear fruit, and they're a small stature tree. Many people use them in a planter. They say that they get to be 5 feet in height and 5 feet in width, but they can be pruned and kept more compact. They're hardy down to -10 degrees Fahrenheit or down to a zone 5. And that is the Bonfire Patio Peach. $49.98. And look how budded it is. It's going to start blooming pretty soon. They still have some prairie fire crab apples. Now, crab apples are a wonderful source of food for birds. So this variety here, the prairie fire, looks like it has some red foliage in the fall, which is stunning. It'll also get fruit at that point too. So they flower in the spring, and then they will fruit in the fall and get this really pretty red coloring. Now, there are 2 varieties of crab apples that you can get. The one that has persistent fruit and non-persistent. If you can, you want to look for a variety that has persistent fruit. And that just means that it will hold on to its fruit a bit better and be a little bit less messy than the ones that are not persistent and will just drop all of those fruits. But this one here likes full sun. It is $42.98, blooms in spring, and has fall interest with its red coloring on the foliage as well as the berries. And it gets to be 20 feet in height, 20 feet in width, needs 15 foot spacing. Hardy down to -20 degrees Fahrenheit or a zone 4. And here is a beautiful evergreen shrub that I am appreciating so much this year. I have 2 in my garden, and it is the Pieris. And I actually had them bloom for me for the first time this year. I purchased them 3 years ago, and they look just like this. They were in bloom at the nursery. And then the second year, I had gotten a late season frost, so it kind of zapped all of my bloom buds. But this year, we had a really mild winter, and it bloomed beautifully. These blooms in late winter, early spring, Gorgeous. They're little bell-shaped flowers. This variety looks like it's a fuchsia color, deep red, really pretty. Passion Pyrrhus, or Japanese Andrometer, is also another name for them. They like part sun, so they're good in a woodland setting as an understory type shrub, so that they're only getting a little bit of filtered sun. This variety here gets to be 48 to 60 inches in height and 24 to 36 inches in width, hardy down to a zone 6 or 0 to negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit. And these are $29.98, and they're pretty good size, 2.33 gallon. Lowe's also has these roses in the container with the peat moss that we had seen over at the Home Depot. So here they have this variety called Bloomables, and there's some really pretty ones. Sunbelt Savannah, Princess Charlotte de Monaco. This one is stunning. Look at that. Isn't that so beautiful? It looks almost like a peony. It looks like someone was comparing this other one, this Rose Grandiflora Queen Elizabeth, because it's right on the side of it. But these are really pretty. So if you're looking for some of these roses, they do have some selection available here at Lowe's. So the Bloomables look to be $19.98, and the other varieties are $14.98. Here are the others. Now they have the hybrid tea roses, the Floribunda roses, they have climbers. So it's important to take a look at the tag so you can determine which type of rose you're dealing with when you go to plant it as well as care for it. Now, a couple of years ago, I bought one of these roses. I actually bought the Zephyrin Druin, which is the thornless climbing rose, which is amazing because roses can be pretty prickly, right? So thornless was great. I was excited about that. And it's been doing really well for me. This one's really beautiful with this deep fuchsia color. And the tags will tell you what type of rose. So this one here tells you it's great for climbing. That one says it's a cut rose. And roses, they can be a little bit fickle, but the most important things to remember is they like a well-draining soil and they like a full sun location. And a rock star perennial for your early spring garden, Aquilegia, also known as columbine. The pollinators absolutely love these, and they have a really interesting shape. Look at that. That's a pretty color. This one appears to be like a rose pink. And let's see, it is the Karigami red and white columbine. It is $5.98. This one is perennial. It likes part sun. And let's see the hardiness. These are pretty hardy, down to negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit. And they want 3 to 6 hours of morning sun. They get to be 18 to 24 inches in height and 18 to 24 inches in width. And Saxifraga, I always forget how to pronounce this. Yeah, Saxifraga. This is another really early spring bloomer. You will always see this show up at the nurseries in April when there's not much else. And it has these really dainty pink blooms. They also come in shades of white. And you can see here how they kind of fade to a lighter color. Really beautiful. These are perennial. They like part sun. $5.98 for these here. They're by Monrovia. It says that they are deer resistant, very profuse in early bloomers, perfect for dappled shade or a rock garden. Great for pots, and they want 3 to 6 hours of morning sun. They like semi-moist soil, and they get to be 4 to 8 inches in height, 6 to 12 inches in width. They bloom in spring and hardy down to negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit. And some hellebore. Now, if you are a subscriber of my channel, you know that I absolutely love hellebore. If you've watched my videos recently, I showed the ones in my garden, and they're looking absolutely stunning. Now, this is a Monrovia hellebore called Frost Kiss, Penny's Pink Lenten Rose. And what's beautiful about this one is that it has this really interesting foliage. It almost looks variegated. Look at that, with some pink veining. Really pretty. But here are the blooms, and these are late winter, early spring bloomers. They are deer resistant, and another excellent thing about them is that these large leathery leaves here are evergreen, so they will stay like this all year round. You do have to clean them up in late winter, but you'll get a whole flush of new leaves, and the deer leave these alone, so they are also deer resistant in my garden, which is excellent. So that's what these look like here. And let's see how much they are. $24.98. In general, hellebore take a really long time to grow from seed, so they are pretty pricey. Deer resistant and extreme cold hardiness. Brighten the winter garden with this prolific bloomer. Large blooms and deer resistant. And it likes 3 to 6 hours of morning sun. Also a great understory plant. So if you put them in a woodland setting with moist but well-draining soil, they perform beautifully. And a great source of food for the bees so early in the season. The bees are always all around mine, which is so fun to see. And they have some bridal wreath spirea in stock. The Van Hoot spirea, you can see the shape of it. Now this is stunning when it's in bloom, but you want to give this spirea space. It likes full sun. It is a flowering shrub. It flowers in spring. Most spirea will flower at some point in spring, and it is $25.98. It needs 6 foot height and 6 foot width for spacing. Hardy down to a zone 4 or down to -20 degrees Fahrenheit. They're also starting to get in their veggie starts. I would say that $4.98 is a little bit too much money to get some lettuce starts. You can just get a pack of seeds for like $2, throw them down. Seeds like lettuce are so easy to grow. They also like cool temperatures. So all you do is scratch up your soil, throw your seeds down, and with all of the rain that we naturally get in spring, in a few weeks, you will have some great lettuce to harvest and eat in your garden. So this is one thing that I probably wouldn't buy at the garden center because they are a bit pricey for what you get. The same with the herbs, really easy to start from seed. If you are going to buy mint, don't plant it out in your garden because it can get really invasive. You want to plant mint in a planter. And here is some thyme. Thyme can be evergreen or perennial, I should say. Some herbs are perennial, like chives, oregano, sage. They come back year after year for me here in my zone 6. But really easy to start these from seed. And this smells amazing. I'm like moving it around and I can get a whiff. So good. Look at this fun little pom-pom evergreen, the Boulevard False Cypress. I actually have one of these in my garden in my front main walkway, and it has gotten quite large. So these will grow, and then you have to, they're kind of what they call cloud pruned. So you do have to go ahead and keep their shape by pruning them at least once every season. But mine has gotten pretty large. So they do grow. So this one here is, let's see, $129. It likes full sun, and it says that it gets to be 10 to 15 feet in height, 4 to 5 feet in width, hardy down to a zone 4 or down to -20 degrees Fahrenheit. Mine looks like that, but much taller, probably about 5 feet tall at this point. But pruning it will definitely slow down its growth. I have a couple of those here. If you're looking to do some fertilizing, now is the time in early spring. I really like this plant tone for all of my garden perennials. If you have those types of hydrangeas, the macrophylla type that you want to have turn blue, you can add this to your soil and it will help. This is also great for fertilizing things like blueberries because blueberries like acidic soil. So with the thing with these hydrangeas, what turns them blue is the acid in your soil. So if you have more acidic soil, you will get blue hydrangeas. If you have more alkaline soil, you will get them to turn a bit more pink or purple. But they have products like this that will lower your pH, which will then acidify your soil so that you have more of a chance of getting those beautiful blue hydrangeas. And Hollytone, which is great for a lot of your evergreens and azaleas, rhododendrons, and so forth. So a really great time to go ahead and get your fertilizing done. And it looks like the Hollytone, the Plant Tone, and Garden Tone are all $14.98, and the Soil Acidifier is $13.98. They also have some Garden Lime for $7.98. And this one says that it turns hydrangeas pink. So if you want them to be more pink or purple, you would go ahead and add some lime. And some more perennials. This here is a type of maiden pink. It is dianthus, and I actually had some of these planted all along my main walkway border several years ago. And even when they're not in bloom, you just get a little tuft of green grass. I've since moved them out to make room for other things like nepeta that I also love in my garden, but these are a really pretty low growing type of perennial. And this is the exact same variety that I had, the Kahori dianthus. They like full sun. They're a mounding perennial. These here are $8.98 for this container. And it is hardy down to a zone 4 or -20 degrees Fahrenheit. They get to be 12 to 15 inches in height and 12 to 15 inches in width. Really pretty, vibrant fuchsia pink coloring. And these have a lot of buds on them. They bloom for quite a long time. And if you shear them back, then they'll flush back out for you. And if you want a perennial that will offer non-stop blooms from spring all the way to a hard frost in the fall, this is what you want. This is a pincushion flower. It's butterfly blue pincushion flower. It is gorgeous. You get these really pretty lavender blooms, and the pollinators absolutely love these. The blooms just keep coming on these. You can see that they have some blooms. There are some that are spent, and look at all of these buttons of new blooms that are getting ready to come out. Now, these are what they call a short-lived perennial. So short-lived perennials will last for about 2 to 3 seasons, and then they may or may not return. But the good thing is, after a couple of years, you can divide these and you can keep your plant going. So it likes full sun. It blooms, it says summer and fall, but mine starts blooming at some point in mid to late spring. And here in my zone 6, these containers are $8.98. And they get to be 15 inches in height, 15 inches in width, hardy down to negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit or a zone 4. I absolutely love these. And this plant I'm not familiar with. I thought it was Coreopsis, but it's actually called Leonardo Compact Leopard's Bane. And it looks like it's an early spring bloomer, a mounding perennial. It likes part sun. And let's see. Hardy down to a zone 4 or negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and it gets to be 12 inches in height and 10 inches in width. Has a really cheery yellow bloom. And a proven winner's rhododendron called Dandy Man Purple. It says that it is super hardy, and let's see how big they get. These apparently they can take a little bit more sun because they're rated for sun or part shade. And they're hardy in USDA growing zones 4 through 8. They get to be 4 to 8 feet tall and wide. And they bloom in spring. That is beautiful. Look at that. Here are, let's see, they're a number 2 gallon container for $25.98. They also have some clematis, and these come on a trellis, many different varieties. Louise Rowe, the Vagabond, Little Duckling, Multi-Blue, Pink Fantasy, and Rouge Cardinal is among some of the varieties that I see here, and they are $14.98. Now, clematis like to be planted in a location with their head in the sun and their feet shaded. So they're great to plant beside other perennials that might shade the base of the plant, and they will perform much better that way. There's also different group types. So there's group 1, group 2, group 3, and it's important to know which group you're dealing with so that you know how to prune them. Well, that brings us to the end of the April inventory here at Lowe's. I hope that you enjoyed checking out what my store has in stock, and I hope that you can find some of these varieties near you. Thank you for spending your time with me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit the thumbs up button, and please consider subscribing so you don't miss any of my future videos, and we'll see you soon.